The popular image of an apex predator is one of total dominance. We're taught to see them as the kings of the jungle, born into a life of safety at the top of the food chain. But for a lioness born on the Serengeti, the reality is far more fragile. She enters the world blind and deaf. Her legs frequently splay sideways under her own weight, leaving her entirely helpless against the elements. Her first home isn't a fortress. It's usually a narrow gap between rocks or a hollow space in the dirt. This small crevice provides the only physical barrier between a newborn cub and a lethal landscape. Physical contact is a matter of immediate survival. Without sight, the cub must press into her mother's body to orient herself, using the heat of the adult's stomach to find where she can feed. This reliance becomes a liability when the mother eventually leaves the den to hunt. While she is away, the cubs are left completely exposed. A solitary jackal is a constant threat. These scavengers stay low in the tall grass, waiting for a chance to sneak into a den and end a cub's life before it has even truly begun. Survival often depends on the mother's violent return. She must use her full weight to physically batter the scavenger away from the rocks, clearing the perimeter of anything that could reach the cubs. Even animals that aren't predators pose a mortal risk. If a cub wanders blindly into the tall grass, she can easily be trampled or gored by a passing warthog with its tusks swinging low to the ground. Integration into the pride is equally violent. To exist within the group, the lioness must spend her early weeks fighting older, larger cubs who will aggressively pin her down until she learns to hold her own. A lioness is born as vulnerable prey. Every inch of her survival is something she has to fight for long before she ever makes a kill. Surviving adolescence requires mastering the pride's ruthless socioeconomics. She has to navigate a strict social order where the strongest eat first and the young must wait for whatever remains. For the first year, her role is primarily one of observation. She follows the hunt from a distance, learning the feeding order and watching how the adult lionesses work in tandem. This diagram shows the coordination required for a successful takedown. The lionesses fan out in a wide arc, using extreme patience to close the circle around a herd without being detected. One mistake can ruin the effort of the entire pride. If a single juvenile breaks position too early, the herd scatters instantly, and the group goes without food for the night. Corrective discipline is physical and immediate. Older lionesses will pin the juvenile in the grass, holding her there with their bodies to teach her exactly where she needs to stay. When she finally learns to hold her position, the hunt succeeds. Her value to the pride comes from maintaining that circle, even if she isn't the one who makes the final kill. This stability is fragile. When 3 rogue males arrive at the territory edge, they can overthrow the pride's leadership in a matter of minutes, changing the hierarchy overnight. These new males instantly take control of the feeding order. They hoard every carcass, leaving the younger lionesses with nothing to eat for days at a time. After 2 full days without a meal, the lioness faces a choice between starvation and exile. The reality of the pride's new order forces her into a desperate survival situation. She chooses to break away, leaving the pride behind to hunt alongside a single fellow outcast. This is her first completely independent kill. She utilizes every skill she observed as a cub, tracking the target, holding her position, and executing the takedown of a zebra on her own. The cycle begins again when she gives birth to her own cubs. She shelters them in the rocks and defends them from hyenas, acting as their sole protector without any support from a pride. She has become the sole engine of survival for herself and the next generation, reaching true apex status through independent mastery. By year 14, her hunting knowledge is at its peak, but her physical body is failing. This graph illustrates the biological betrayal of old age. While her experience continues to climb, her calorie intake plummets because her back teeth are worn down, doubling the time it takes her to eat. This decline has a domino effect. Because she eats so slowly, younger, faster lionesses steal her portion of the kill, and her ribs begin to show through her coat. She reverts to solitary hunting to avoid the competition. She tracks a young impala alone, hoping to find a meal she won't have to fight her own pride to keep. During her final hunt, Her mind calculates the perfect angle for the strike, but her aging legs cannot close the final distance. The impala pulls away, leaving her exhausted in the open. This weakness draws in scavengers. A pack of 12 hyenas emerges from the rocks, capitalizing on her isolated state and closing in from all sides. She makes a last stand, driving several hyenas back into the dirt. But as they circle her, one hits her low behind the back leg, and her strength finally gives out under the weight of the pack. The savanna eventually reclaims every predator. The knowledge she used to survive is now carried by her cubs, who must now continue the cycle of resilience on their own.